have drum beats for our information and our pledge. John.
Let's pause for a moment of reflection. Gracious and loving God, thank you for bringing us together this day as people united in service, fellowship, and in purpose. We are grateful for the Rotary mission that inspires us to serve above self and to seek ways to make a difference in our community and beyond. As we gather here, we give thanks for the gift of education, the foundation upon which so much of our progress and opportunity is built. Today, we are especially honored to welcome Dr. David English, whose leadership helps guide the academic mission of the UNC system. May his words enlighten us, spark ideas, and strengthen our collective commitment to learning, equity, and excellence in higher education. Bless this meeting, the food we share, the friendships we grow, and may the work we do today continue to reflect our four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? In gratitude and in service we say, Amen.
Amen.
Stand, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For fertile mountains majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown you with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
ARY, that spells Rotary.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Phil. I'd like to for here after this meeting, and any adjournment, somebody's going to have to step up on the scene the next couple of weeks. All right. It's my question of a lot of wonderful guests today, and our husband Leslie will be with them.
He's gonna tell us all about himself. Okay, it's Claire is a yes, and you would love to stand up and tell us a little bit about yourself. Hi, I'm Claire Duff. I'm a former member of this club. Back when it's downtown, community club, and I'm the daughter of Coach Turner, who's about to renew his membership in this club after going to the mountains to that club. But thank you for having me. An attorney here in Raleigh and a double cardinal, and yes, thank you for having me.
I'm Tim Young. I think this is my third time in the investing area in the workplace and study and speak with motivation. So thank you for having me.
Oh, you can be introduced. Right. Going to see. That'll be good. Love that. Okay, we got this guy. He's going to
Hello, my name is John Pearsall. I was originally with Carolina, I went to Sweet Liberty State University. University in my today. I get the college for services. This is my first radio event, and I'm glad to be here and glad to participate with you all. Thank you.
I feel like we have one more. Am I just saying some other people? Oh, yeah, there's people up here. Okay, sorry.
Hey, I'm Paul Watson, a small marketing company. This is my second time here. And yeah, I think Tommy and know people, the other folks here, just glad to be here. Thank you all. I'm here on behalf of Jennifer Rodriguez, so thank you very for recommending us and inviting us today. My name is Wallace Sells, and we have a microfinance company where we support female entrepreneurs, whether they for me in America. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you.
Okay, and your name's Catherine, and your name's Alicia.
Jesse.
Jesse. Okay, you have someone else coming. Okay, great. Well, did I miss anyone else in the meeting? Okay. You're also a guest, so I'm just gonna ask you to tell me your name, and I'll introduce you guests. Right time. Awesome. Okay, thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Governor. Welcome to the program here, and if you have any questions about Rotary, or you Monte, we will be just. But first, we have a very serious announcement. I'll ask you to come up to the
Okay, not going to remember, but it was here when the general counsel for general costs. He was not able to attend our meetings regularly because he had meetings on. The fee was an exemplary. I'm very, calling. Never mentioned his health problems, which were numerous. So it was so genuine and so loving and kind. Thank you.
So moving to our parts of our club, we here to start out with a great beginning with Diamante with a fantastic, one of my favorite things that happened here. We want to introduce a new member, or in this case, reinstated members. So Diamante.
President Perry, that, so you know what time it is. All righty, happy Monday. How are we feeling out here today? So we got some exciting news today. So we're going to reinstate or bring back our good break member. Actually learned a lot about very inspirational. First thing we want to do is bring Judge Hunter. Come on up real quick, sir. Come on back. Yes, sir. When he came back, I've never seen so many faces say, "Hey, welcome back." So I know when I got to know this guy right here. Basically, really quick, come on up to play. Perfect. Just to give you guys a brief summary really quick, Judge Hunter, I know that he's always been known as Bob, but I like to, when you work hard for what you've done in this great career you've done, you will always be Judge Hunter himself. With that being said, briefly, Judge Hunter was born in Marion, North Carolina. He currently resides in Raleigh. He has been married to Miss Nancy Hunter for over 55 years. Right there, hey, girl, you're married. He's receiving his Bachelor of Arts degree in political science from UNC, as well as Juris Doctorate from the UNC School of Law. Love the Target Nation. Judge Hunter has been a practicing attorney for over 56 years. He has worked for the House of Representatives, North Carolina Corporate Field, and is currently the chair of the North Carolina County Tax Commission and Associate Justice of the Cherokee Supreme Court. In his free time, he loves tar heel sports and pickleball. He also volunteered organizing, different events, but he also has two daughters. His two daughters' names are Megan, and we have today his daughter Claire as a former Rotary member of the Club of Raleigh. So with that being said, Judge Hunter, I gotta ask you a couple of questions real quick. In your opinion, Judge Hunter, your membership application has been reviewed according to our constitution and bylaws. We will now proceed and admit to you into membership of the Rotary Club. You want to answer the questions with, I will. Question one.
Will you join us as we strive to live a life of service above self?
Question two.
Will you join us in our activities for service projects and fundraising activities in support of our community?
In such a degree, will you join us in supporting Logan's efforts worldwide, which focuses on these 7 areas: promoting peace, disease prevention, providing clean water, sanitation, maternal and childhood, basic education and literacy, economic community development, and protecting the environment. All right, guys, everybody please stand up. You will remove the bottom. And everybody, please give a round of applause for Judge Hunter. Yes, sir. We're glad to have you back. Also, too, we have I have a second reading for Chuck Lee. Chuck, stand on up, just raise your hand real quick, basically regarding Chuck. Chuck has been living in North Carolina for over 34 years. Chuck has resided in several cities such as Winston-Salem and Durham, North Carolina, but has recently moved to North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina. Chuck has a wife named Wendy Lee, have been married for over 11 years. Chuck has his bachelor's of science degree in commerce and engineering from Drexel University, an MBA from Harvard Graduate School of Business. Chuck he says he's semi-retired, but it seems like he works hard to be. In the financial industry, he still continues to work for a boutique firm, long-term street advice, investment advisor. His company deals with asset allocations. Chuck has served on several boards such as the NC State Retirement Fund under Bell Purdue and Duke School for Children. Chuck's free time, he loves to box, so don't play with him now. Don't mess with him now. Okay? He's also a cattleman. But most importantly, I love about Chuck, he loves the service. He's volunteered at the children's school for the foster children, and has also coached boys football team in the Weaver School projects of Durham, which could be that's a big commitment, especially in Durham. So we definitely appreciate that. So just give a quick round of applause for Chuck Lee. Coming up in this month, in a couple of weeks, we are going to have our service social. So if you missed out on a couple of events here, you want to make up for attendance, come to the service social. We will have it at the Yard House on Thursday, April 24th from 5 to 7. So bring your lovely faces and bring that smile that Rotary smile. All right.
Thank you. And thank you to the Bill McLaurin for being our sponsor to us. We're thrilled to have you, Bob. Thanks for visiting and just thank you for being here. We are going to talk about service now. So we did not see Richard yet. So he'll have an update for us later on what Rick mentioned. And so Shakima, if you will come up, Shakima has a briefing update on the Raleigh project. Shakima runs our new generation program. By the way, those of you who are visitors who just saw Diamante, make sure you say hello to them.
Hello, everybody, again, and if you want any kind of consideration that you care. And I have a resolution. I'm a part of one, with 4 initiatives. But I'm only here to speak about one, which is our Raleigh District Academy. So I'm excited about these young people. They're 11th graders. They were able to be sent out to camp for a leadership program, and they're out to Friends Club. Max and Letitia. Letitia is one of our exchange students from Brazil. And Letitia just sent me an email that I'm going to read a few lines of her experience real quick. She said she had a really great time at Canada Hill. At first, she wanted to go home because it started off with problem. Everyone was shy around each other, but later we were divided into ends. I was in the sheep group with other boys and girls, and I ended up having a lot of fun. I especially like my sheep counselors, Lex and Charlotte. Thank you. Again, this is a camp, 11th graders, there is a lot of to learn more about Rotary. The camp itself is mixed with both non-Rotarian and returning young leaders. So we're not all from Interact, which also is the area that I cover. But again, they enjoyed themselves, both Max and teachers had the same experience or similar with leading other students. This is the day that they had departed on April 4th. Max and Letitia, they met with Alvin, Parker, and I forgot the building, her Alex. They were able to take a ride out to the West Club participants. So, yeah, you got to meet a lot of people, and that's what Rotary is all about, starting from the young and rising up to the top. So, help me, help them, be mentors, be leaders, and thank you.
Really appreciate everything you're doing. If you want to guarantee a great future, invest in young people now. And Jake is really involved in doing that, and Roger's involved in doing that. So thank you for that. Well, drum roll this time for the announcement of the winner of our, let me make sure I got that right. Yeah, I do have it. Of our NCAA basketball challenge.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, President Eric. As each of you know, we did our second annual NC1 bracket challenge. We contributed $50 to our club got half the proceeds. And last year was first time we did it, so this year is second time. Last year we getting bucks on the proceeds, we winner. Now, today we won all the money last year, $625, $650. So this year we mixed it up. And we decided to have a first and a second place winner. So somebody told me to say, and I kind of get it, but I never kind of liked. So we influenced my club. Second place is seldom remembered and never honored. That's not always true. But the second place, if you play in our group, you can get money too. It's going to happen in the NFL. Fantasy is going to happen today. Mark Livingston, unseated Mark, Richard Avery is a champion. He came in first place, he got a little over $300. Second place is, you remember, and going to be honored today. A little bit over $200 who could defend the champion, the unseated Richard Avery. Give you a little over $200. I thank each of you playing. It was a lot of fun. My family, Jill and I have 2 boys and 2 girls, and they wanted Dad to start doing pool. So we did a pool. And my 13-year-old nephew out of 20 bucks won $95. He was real to that this year. He won bracket. Thanks, guys. All right.
Thank you. Now let's the fun and fundraising. So speaking of winning winners and whatnot, we'll have an event pair students a quick update for us from the division, the district standpoint. He's our assistant district governor. So Eric.
President Herrick. Most of you, I think, were here last week when, Audrey Reed, who's the president of the Crabtree Club, came in and talked about the raffle, that we are holding for the Rotary Music Garden that's being installed in Moore Square. So, still have lots of raffle tickets, and let me explain to you a little bit about what this is about. So all of the Raleigh clubs and one of the Cary clubs all joined together to secure a district grant and put together this plan to musical playground equipment to be installed in Moore Square. We're going to have the ribbon cutting for that on May 17th in the morning. There'll be sign-ups for that coming up. But one thing that came along as we were working with the city was that it worked out that the timing of this ribbon cutting was going to be at the same time that PBS was having this Doodles for Kids event taking place in Moore Square. And so we decided to take advantage of this. And one of the ways we're taking advantage of this is that we prepared with PBS a Rotary children's booklet. That's going to be, Rotarians going to be sitting there like having a booth there with all these children running around, hundreds of children apparently, families. And we're going to give out these coloring books. I've seen a print of them. They have like a little thing for children about the four-way test. It's a wonderful PR thing for Rotary. And we don't really have that in our budget. And so to raise the funds to print the coloring book, we're selling these raffle tickets. And each of the Rotary clubs contributed sort of a gift, a prize for the raffle, and they're all music related. So you pay $20 for a raffle. You're just going to have them there as you walk out. So I'm expecting that line to purchase these raffle tickets. You can win tickets to a Keith Urban concert. You can win tickets to win their very own customer. Who doesn't want that? There's children's violin lessons, 2 tickets to the Theater Raleigh, ukulele that you can purchase, that you can receive, a mini guitar, and children's musical instruments, and a set of Beats Studio Pro headphones. So please help support our big music garden collaborative event and purchase your raffle. Thank you.
Well, yeah, this is a great project that we have going on, and it'll be fun to see what that all looks like when it's completed. So now we do have that raffle now, and so John Gates can come up and handle all the raffle. John.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody that participated in today's raffle. We're looking for a big pot today. We've got lots of entries today. Do you mind drawing the winning tickets? Okay. The winner is 825-5005. 825-505. We have a winner.
All right, thank you, John, and those who aren't familiar with it, this raffle is we raises money for our club as well. So part of the proceeds goes to the women's part of this club as well. Thank you and congratulations on winning. So with that, it's time for us to go ahead and talk about Happy Dollars. So I'll have Charlie come up and do Happy Dollars, and I'm going to have the first one while Charlie's coming up. I'm delighted that Bob Hunter is rejoining our club. But I'm delighted to see Claire today. Claire was a great member of our club. It's really, I'm going to get emotional here. She was really instrumental and inspiring to Carrie as Carrie was considering joining the club. And they made this father-daughter thing work out pretty good. So we kind of copied their model. But Claire, thank you for joining us for everything you've done. She was our membership director for a while, and so we're thrilled to have this meeting with us today. And for sure, there's Colin.
Thanks, President. That's right. How about that? More macro on this. How about it? Yeah.
And I know Jordan, North Anderson, our managers, after that Normandy and Paris and Burke and Tom Holbert told me it's pretty neat Normandy, so I'll give you a report when you come back. Happy Dollars, here we go.
I am happy to have everyone that's here. I've known Wallace for 7 years now, and he's been instrumental in helping my family with a ton of different things, but to see him now helping Latinas in the community become business owners is really truly inspiring, and I'm looking forward to working alongside him and helping them keep going.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, President, short and sweet.
All right, thank you very much, Charlie, and thanks for bringing your team today. We're thrilled and we're big Jennifer fans here, as you probably get. All right, birthday's coming up. So we have Ned Ligon, Cindy Roberts, Jim Graham. Celebrating your birthday. Oh, you're here? Oh, there he is. Okay. I'm those. Happy birthday coming up. Randy Woodson and Taylor Newberry with birthdays. And then anniversaries, Randy and Don Mouse and Duncan and Ashley Jennings. So those are the things to celebrate relative to those dates coming up. And then our next meeting is coming up. So first of all, there is a board meeting this evening. If you would like to attend a board meeting, just get in touch with Linda. She'll give you the Zoom link. It's an open meeting and everyone's invited. If you have your red badge or your blue badge, that's one of the things you can do. But we're always delighted when somebody can join us. Starts at 5:30 today. And then we don't have a meeting next Monday, Monday. So if you're here, you're going to be fun. And then on the 28th, with our vacation team, we're going to have Dr. Marianne Wolf, who is with the Public School Forum. And then we're having a very exciting time with Tom Packer and Kurt Warner introducing the ESLA, the First Leadership Award, and Kurt introducing our winner this year, Ira David Wood III, famous director, actor, personality, and contributor to the arts in the Triangle area. He will be here to receive that. And then Jose Serrano will be here to talk about AI. And then Dr. Kristen Phelps from NC State will talk about the impact of AI on learning. Maybe our speaker would have some thoughts on that topic as well. That's a very prominent one right now. We're not going to meet on Memorial Day, and then we're going to have a meeting we're calling Building a Bigger Rotary, where we had Girl Scouts come in and participated in a 4-way test contest. And then Shaquille is going to talk about how we can expand our reach further into the community and have an impact on the community and bring the community into Rotary. So I'm really looking forward to those events. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move into our program. And I have an introduction of Dr. Dean English here. So he is the Senior Vice President of Academic Affairs and Chief Academic Officer of the 17th campus University of North Carolina system. We're all familiar with that. We were talking before the meeting. Most states would have an asset as great as the UNC system. They include 17 universities, 2 land-grant institutions, and the oldest public university in America. Has 2 hospitals, 100, and a top-ranked residential high school, public high school. All told, they're looking out for 250,000 students. Just a remarkable number. It's been a leader in public education for a very long time. Dr. English serves as the principal advisor to the Board of Governors Committee, Educational Planning, Policies and Programming, overseeing academic affairs, student services, education policies, health affairs, academic technology, and much more. So a very impactful role. He also manages student affairs, enrollment, and technology. The undergrad research and the relationship with the community college system as well. Previously, he was the executive vice chancellor and provost at the University of North Carolina School of the Arts, and he had academic and administrative responsibilities there. Earlier in his career, he served as an admission appointment in the UNC system office and
Appalachian State University. And I love this with him in his role and his academic achievements. He is a first generation college graduate from his family. He graduated from the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina. He got his PhD from North Carolina State University and his master's and bachelor's from App State. And then, Peter Hans is the president of the UNC system. I originally reached out to Peter. He's a good friend, a long-time acquaintance. And Peter travels every month, so there's just no way we can do this. But he promised Dr. English was going to be a great speaker. I believe it. And I don't think you've seen this, or I don't know if you saw the communication. When I was talking to Peter, he said this: Dr. David English is a younger, better looking, and more engaging version of me. So Dr. English, I don't care how long your career was, you each had your best day at work. Please welcome Dr. English.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's an honor to be with you. This is an amazing group, the work you all do on behalf of Raleigh and beyond this. It's pretty amazing, so I'm humbled to be with you all today. I'm going to try to give you an overview of the University of North Carolina system, where we have been, where we're headed, and make sure to leave some time for questions. Thank you all for having me. Thank you, President Mayor, for the introduction. The point about being a first generation college student matters to me more than all the other stuff. I'm from Mitchell County, which is just up the road from Marion, where Judge Hunter's from. So went to be working on this in Marion because we didn't have one of those in Mitchell County. Again, kind of amazing to be able to be here today with the group. All right. So we're going to jump in. I also teach at NC State. I teach courses on the history of higher education. I tend to give 3-hour-long lectures. I'm going to try to not go nearly that long, since I think I have 17 minutes left on the clock today. I do like to start when we're talking about public higher education in North Carolina with the fact that the idea of a public university was not just contemplated, but actually put into our state's constitution in December of 1776. Right? This is a time where we are still fighting for independence. We barely have public schools at the K-12 level, yet there was this audacious idea that public higher education would matter to the people of the state. And so the idea of public university was actually contemplated, put into the Constitution in 1776. Then in 1789, this is the enabling act that actually established the University of North Carolina. And I'll note now, we love all of our public institutions in the state. So when I talk about the University of North Carolina, or UNC, I'm typically referencing to the multi-campus university system, not the specific institution from Chapel Hill, although I will reference it quite frequently. So in 1789, the University of North Carolina was established, the first campus in Chapel Hill. I love this idea that it states, whereas the university is supported by permanent funds and well endowed, and have the most direct tendency to answer the above purpose, which was to consult the happiness of the rising generation, right? So this idea that a public university would be deeply connected with the happiness of a rising generation, but also the state more broadly. Over here on the left-hand side, you can see the UNC system timeline. Again, 1789, first campus chartered in Chapel Hill. It opened in 1798. Just to give you all a fact, in case you need it, there are two other wonderful public institutions that attempt to lay claim to the title of the oldest public university. They're both well-intentioned, but unfortunately quite wrong. The College of William and Mary is the second oldest college in the country behind Harvard. It, however, was a private institution until it was essentially bailed out and merged into the Virginia public system in 1909. So while it's a wonderful institution, I don't think being first public in 1909 should be the oldest public institution in the country. And the University of Georgia, which was chartered in 1785, so 4 years before UNC Chapel Hill. However, they failed to actually do anything for 16 years. They didn't actually teach a class for a full student until 1901. And I think you all share our love of our state motto, Sequandary, right, which is to be rather than to see. It's one thing to charter a state institution, it's another thing to actually, run. So we actually enrolled students and graduated them while George Washington was president in Chapel Hill. So between 1867 and 1909, 11 additional public institutions get chartered in the state. You see this theme: North Carolina believes in public higher education. We have more institutions and in many other states, definitely most other southern states. I'll do a quick quiz. Does anybody know the second oldest public institution in the state of North Carolina? One was chartered and opened in 1867. Gilbert, good question. No. Second oldest public. Pembroke, good guess, it is not. So it's actually Fayetteville State University. So FSU opened as the Howard School in 1867. It means it's one of the 10 oldest public HBCUs in the country. And so again, a large history of expanding educational access in the state. Ultimately then in 1931, this is the first time consolidation happened. First time we think about a state-based approach to higher education comes in the Great Depression, in the midst of just unprecedented economic turmoil. So they merged the Women's College, which is now UNC Greensboro, UNC State, UNC Chapel Hill, into the consolidated University of North Carolina. That structure in 1971 that brought in the other 10 public four-year universities in the state to become the large University of North Carolina system. And you can see in 1980, North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics was opened, became a full member of the UNC system in 2007. On the right, we reference this frequently, Article 9, Section 9, won't read the whole thing, but the general premise is that the benefits of the University of North Carolina system shall be made available to the people of the state free of expense as far as practical. Now, practical is the operative word here, and that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but we do have a guidance with STAR that we should be made available for as free as possible. This is a map put together to show again the breadth of institutions in the system. So you see 17 stars up there are the institutions in the UNC system. Also under the auspices of the UNC system are PBS and C, so 12 statewide licenses as part of the PBS network. The University of North Carolina Press, one of the oldest public university academic presses in the country. North Carolina State Education Systems Authority, which does need-based financial aid for public and private institutions in the North Carolina Rotary. Now, many of y'all have some long history from North Carolina, longer than mine, but I always love this fact of trying to explain to people outside of the state just how big and wide North Carolina is. So if there's two of us sitting in Mississippi State University, so we, the little red star at the very top right? And so I get in my car and drive to New York City, and you get in your car and drive to Western Carolina University, just another institution in the UNC system. It is pretty likely that I will be sitting in Midtown Manhattan having a drink before you make it to Western Carolina University, right? That's just how broad the state is. You can drive to New York faster than you can drive to Western Carolina as the city. Western Carolina is further west than Detroit, Michigan. So I like to joke, right? The UNC system expands all the way to the Midwest, right? Towards the Midwest. Again, just a phenomenal geographical presence. Many folks don't know that the UNC healthcare system and the ECU healthcare system are also under the banners of the UNC system. So you see about 25 hospitals spread across North Carolina, providing direct care, patient services, and advanced research, and just about every banner of healthcare that you could think of. So a broad impact in the healthcare space. Just a couple of facts, as President Eric noted, looking at about 400 million students across the system at this point. The piece that matters most to me is North Carolinian. It's on the left there where you see about 85.6% of our undergraduate students are North Carolinians. Many other states do not have the same commitment to public higher education. You'll see those states might be 50, 60% out-of-state students. In North Carolina, we actually have policies that ensure the majority of the seats are reserved for North Carolinians as part of our mission connection. You'll see again the reference to NC Cooperative Extension operated jointly by North Carolina A&T State University and NC State, and then the two hospital systems I referenced. There we go. All right, so budget and governance, it's a big financial pie. It's about $12 billion all-in operation for the UNC system. You see the biggest source of funds for state appropriations. We will come back to this. The reason the UNC system is so strong is because the people of the state, the members of the General Assembly of the state have invested in the system for hundreds of years now, and that commitment continues today. So we see state appropriations as the biggest source of revenue, not student tuition and fees like you can see in many other states. On the government side, the way we're set up organizationally is that the House and the Senate each appoint 12 members to the UNC Board of Governors. Board of Governors is charged with the general control and determination of the UNC system. They elect the president, Peter Hans, that we referenced earlier. President Hans directly oversees the work of each of the 17 chancellors. So those chancellors report to the system president, not to the local board of trustees. The Board of Governors then appoints 2/3 of each of the campus's board of trustees, who are charged with serving as an advisor to the individual campus chancellors. So a bit of a unique governance structure, but it does help us to remain more focused on common objectives as a system due to the more centralized nature of the governance. This is an example of just looking at like, well, what is the impact in a specific county? Like, if you're interested in these, we have them up on our website. We've got a county fact sheet for each of the 100 counties in North Carolina, so you can see exactly what is happening in the county.
So here in Wayne County, right, one of the biggest presence, you see that we've got 10,000 UNC system employees who reside here in Wayne County. There are 9,000 public high school students who were accepted to the UNC system in the graduating class of 2024. We've actually got about 27,000 students from Wayne County who are enrolled in one of the UNC system institutions. So a pretty massive impact. But what I think is really amazing is you can drill this down to like Rockford, right, Mitchell County, see the same thing, right? You can see the individuals that are living and working in that county with the system. You can see the students that are given educational opportunities as well. So that's a little bit about who we are, right? To make sure folks understand who is the UNC system, kind of what's our general scope and stand. So we're going to take a second to take a look ahead to where we're going next. So first, I don't know if you'll notice, the biggest challenge we're facing in higher education is a crisis of confidence. Individuals not believing that a college degree is worth it, right? That the cost is too high, the debt is too high, and the payoff is not there. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing in the system to address these facts, and to try to make sure that our institutions are well positioned for success in the future. Again, I'm going to move through these pretty quickly, so my apologies for any if I'm just moving too fast. Feel free to ask questions. Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about demographic shifts. Unfortunately, the charts did not come through here, but the high school graduates at the top, so the top right, that's supposed to be a chart that shows the number of high school graduates in the country. So if you haven't heard, this year, 2025, is the high water mark of public high school graduates in the United States. Just over 3.8 million students are going to graduate from high school this May. We will then begin a national drop that will continue for the next 10 to 15 years, to the point that we're going to lose about 500,000 high school graduates per year. In North Carolina, we're in a better position. We've grown from about 80,000 high school students per year, high school graduates, up to about 121,000 this year. We'll see a slight increase up to about 128,000. Essentially, then we level off right at about 120,000. So if you look ahead to 2040, there'll be as many students graduating high school as there are today. And that's a difference where our colleges and universities have been built on ever increasing growth of the traditional pool, right? The 18-year-old full-time first-time freshman. So our institutions have to become more responsive, or they're going to suffer some pretty significant difficulties.
Sorry.
Okay, good deal. All right, so what are we trying to do, right? So first, as I mentioned, many people are concerned that college costs too much and the debt is too high. We've been laser focused on this in the UNC system. The legislature has supported this, the board has supported this. First, you'll see for in-state undergraduates, we're going to our 9th straight year of no tuition increases. No other state in the country can say this. Purdue University did a long streak of tuition freezes, but not every institution in the entire state, right? You think about on an inflation-adjusted basis, tuition is significantly less expensive now than it was a decade ago in the UNC system. Second, you can see the impact of students that are graduating with debt. So that's the chart at the bottom left, right? So in 2018-19, 61% of our undergraduates had federal student loan debt when they graduated. That's dropped down to 49.9%, right? Less than half of students who graduate college have any debt. Again, this is a result of actions such as flat tuition, so not increasing tuition, NC Promise, which brought the tuition rate down to $1,000 per year, in Elizabeth City, Fayetteville State, NC Pembroke, Western Carolina University. And then the next NC Scholarship, which gives guaranteed money to individuals who come from families earning less than $80,000 per year. You earn less than $80,000 per year, you're guaranteed $5,000. If you go up to $10,000 or above for students who are very low income. You can see, right, our average tuition is $4,500. Everybody who comes from a family earning less than $80,000 a year is going to get a guaranteed $5,000 mix of state and federal aid. It makes the system very affordable. So we want to remove cost as a barrier to access to higher education. Next is people are concerned, right, that you're not going to have any sort of a better outcome in the employment market. We recognize that what you do in the workforce is only one part of your education. We've done some significant work on quality of life, social engagement, public service that comes from graduating from the system. But if we want to look at it on just a dollars and cents basis, we're fine to do so because the story is really good. So about 3 years ago, the General Assembly gave us $2 million and charged us with hiring an outside firm to do an assessment, ROI, right, return on investment, of every single program in the UNC system. And so we actually got real world earnings, matched it back up against majors, and found some pretty amazing statistics, right? So, all the charts that come through, that 494,000 on the top left is the additional value of an undergraduate degree versus no college. And that's discounted in net present terms, right? Essentially, it's like you have to be given a $500,000 check today in order to be equivalent to all of the earnings differential that you receive as a college graduate. So it's a huge premium, right? On the top right, you can see it's close to $1 million for a graduate. For me, as again, a low income first generation college student who went to school on Pell Grants, I see this figure at the bottom left that about 90% of low income students move up in income band as a result of graduating from UNC systems. So we see this becomes an economic and social mobility driver. And again, it's got a 10-year break-even time, which is pretty amazing given very large financial benefits of the system. So we're trying to make sure that people understand this and are aware of what the financial benefits are of the system. I mentioned, right, that the number of high school graduates is declining as a country. So what we have to do is be better at serving those students who historically have not been well served in our public college universities. So we think about adult learners, we think about transfer students, and we think about veterans. Those are three critically important constituencies who historically have not been well served by our traditional four-year colleges and universities. We received about $100 million investment from the General Assembly to create Project Kitty Hawk, which is a nonprofit entity that essentially serves to take our UNC institutions degree programs and make them competitive with for-profit proprietary institutions. What we've seen is that there are a huge number of individuals in North Carolina who are pursuing a college degree out of state in their adult learning, right? So you're 25, 30, 35 years old, you decide to go back to school, you decide to upskill. In the past, you might look at one of the institutions here in the system, and we would say, it sounds great. The next start date is in a year. So please call us back in like 48 weeks. Or the classes happen during the daytime when you're trying to hold a job. And so individuals that would want to enroll in the UNC system would oftentimes enroll in other institutions outside of the state. Project Kitty Hawk takes our faculty members and our programs and it makes them more responsive to adult learners, right? And that's a key piece. Support for veterans. North Carolina is the most military-friendly state. We have a huge preponderance of individuals with service and families of those that do. We have not oriented ourselves to be successful in serving those students and their families. Most particular individuals coming out of service with significant military training, and us saying, well, that's not worth anything as a college class. We've now built out a military equivalency system where we can take the experiences that individuals attain as part of their service and show how it's going to directly, immediately be converted into college credit. And then finally, we want to partner with our 58 community colleges to make sure that students understand, here's what courses you need to take at the community college in order to graduate on time from the UNC institution. We've also just passed a regulation that says, we're going to get your credit evaluation back to you in 15 days, right? And it used to be you send a transcript in, you may not hear back for 2 or 3 months about what college credit you're going to get. We need individuals to have that information. And finally, we recognize that one of the limitations on public colleges and universities is that we have too often been perceived as being a partisan actor in the public space. And so you can see the system has committed itself to a position of free speech and free expression, institutional neutrality. The quote from President Hans here, higher education does not exist to settle the most difficult debates of our democracy. Our role is to host those debates, to inform them, to make them richer and more constructive. That's a vital responsibility and one that we're very proud to have. So you can see this idea that the system is working diligently to ensure that we are perceived as a platform for which debates and constructive dialogue can happen, that knowledge can be pursued, but that we are not a partisan actor in those debates. We believe that will increase general public confidence and students as a result. Finally, just in summary, this is President Peter Hans' picture here. I would argue I'm not a better university. He's quite distinguished man. Again, anything that went well today, please make sure to tell him about. Anything that didn't go well, you can direct this to me personally, and I'll so in general, right, enrollment is up, student retention rates up, graduation rates are up, public financial support is up, private financial support is up, research funding is up, we've kept tuition flat for 9 years in a row, student debt levels are down, they're the lowest they've been in some time. This is a tremendous success story, right? And this is unfortunately one that we don't hear about as much as we would like. It's far easier in today's world to point out what's not working Sometimes we need to take credit that the people of the state, through the compact we have supported a public university system that is working to deliver on its commitment, its compact with its citizens. So I think we've got a great success story as well. Obviously challenging times, a lot of unknowns, but I still think the best days are ahead of us. So I think I've managed to leave a little bit of time, leaving with one last statistic, which is that increase in state funding from the General Assembly, we've got 32% since 2020. That's double the rate of inflation. We believe that's a vote of confidence from the General Assembly, which represents the citizens of the state. We're very thankful for that. Those funds are how we're able to operate the programs I talked about, and keep the costs where they are. And we'll leave you with a quote from President Bill Friday, who served as president of the UC system from 1956. He took over when it was just 3 campuses, served until 1986, when it was the 16 institutions that we know today. So as goes our university, so goes our state. They are inextricably linked and dance together. I'm a product of the system. I believe in it passionately. I thank you all for the opportunity to talk a bit about it today. And in the 9 minutes we have left, I'm happy to answer any questions. Read to Paul or anything. So, President, you're happy to. Sir.
Yes, I was curious as to, I saw your funding chart, and I'm curious as to what percentage of your fund, of the system funding comes from the federal government, and to what extent, if any, that has changed in 2025.
Yeah, great question. Let's see if I can get back to that. So for folks that I think are listening online, but heard the question is, what is the percentage of our funds that come from federal sources? So you see it's about 13% for federal appropriation contracts and grants. That represents both like funding for research, but also student aid programs. The student aid programs like Pell Grants, supplemental education opportunity grants, those have all been constant, right? And we will advocate, to anybody who will listen to the importance of them. They serve as a way to generate access for individuals regardless of anything. Funding for federal research dollars has been subject to a lot of uncertainty recently, right? We do not know right now what the actual impact would be across various agencies. Much of this has to do with negotiated indirect cost rates. So what percentage of a grant that an institution receives go for just general institutional expenses as opposed to direct expenses on the research grant. We believe we've been good stewards of the funds that have been provided to our institutions. We'll advocate and continue to look for those funds to be hopefully increased in the future. But there's definitely some uncertainty going forward as to what will be the overall pool of funds and what will be the breakdown of direct versus indirect. So I don't have a better answer on the looking forward, unfortunately. Maybe the individual who can still go to NCAA brackets, like 2 years in a row. I'll ask you. Like, I don't know if you can give me some advice. Yes, sir.
No, this kind of like this thing about the college. We have to also invest in teachers. And I know we have great schools that read teachers, but I understand correctly the law that students don't need teachers when they're built down. And what are we doing to attract more teachers? Because I know that was there. So what's a program where graduated teachers, which is given to work in public school there? That's
yeah, great question. So just to repeat, what are we facing with the public education system, and particularly teaching as a profession? So for if you folks are not aware, this is exactly spot on. We see the number of students in our system who indicate education as their desired major, not quite in a free fall, but it is in a precipitous decline. If you go back to the 1970s in our country, education was the largest sector by degrees awarded. It's now below business and health and a vast number of other degrees. We operate at the UNC system. We have folks that work with our teacher education programs. So we have programs across the UNC system that prepare teachers for licensure, serve as public teachers in the state. We're the biggest producer of public teachers in the state of North Carolina in the UNC system. So for us, it's something that's very deeply germane to our mission. None of our institutions were established as home schools, right, as teacher colleges. And we see from students that are expressing what are the concerns about entering the profession. Some of it is monetary, right? So we do see individuals will highlight, concerns about salary as a piece. Some of it has to do, with perceptions of the profession and the respect that it receives in society, right? Is it a respected profession? Do those individuals receive the respect they deserve, as the individuals who are essentially preparing the future generations? The Teaching Fellows program that I think you had referenced was operated by the state for a number of years. It was sunset about 15 years ago. It was actually brought back about 5 years ago. So we actually have a Teaching Fellows program that began in North Carolina, has both public and private institution participants. Essentially provides individuals 4 years worth of tuition and fees for free if they'll then go teach in a high-need area or high-need discipline. That has made some definite improvements in those areas, but has not been enough to shift the entire profession. Something that we're definitely worried about, and I hope y'all will be too as well.
Yes, so on that same extension of the same work, outside UNC, I mean, Chapel Hill and some of the satellites, what are you seeing about kids that are coming in? You hear stories about having trouble with reading, and I'm not, and just in general nationwide, what are the limitations you're seeing in us? Or
yeah, great. So the question was about academic preparation, right? And what are we seeing for students enrolling into the 16 universities? I think for many of us, we're still seeing the implications of the COVID pandemic, what happened in public schools play out. I have a now 11-year-old, 9-year-old. So we were on early ages of online remote schooling. It was fine for me because it was like, reading kindergarten books, but I worried about, we were trying to do pre-algebra or algebra at home, what sort of learning loss happened. So we definitely see learning loss. We're seeing, I think now as we get deeper into the cohorts, not as much of a social kind of emotional loss, because those individuals still have the opportunity to 4 years of high school in engaged in person environment. But what we've seen our institutions have to do, right, is be more attuned to the needs of those students, and to ideally be able to identify when an individual is having difficulty, either academic difficulty or social difficulty earlier, so that we can flag them and help make sure they get the support services they need to be successful. Because as you can probably tell, I haven't the higher ed UNC system. But the only thing worse than not attending is attending and then dropping out. And on an empirical basis, right, if you attend college for some amount of time and you pass some amount of student debt, and then you drop out, you tend to have significantly worse outcomes. So if we enroll a student, we need to do everything in our power to make sure they graduate. Certainly.
You guys to handle the population for student enrollment, just taking on students at each.
Yeah, so a question about what we're doing with population growth in the system. So we are fortunate right now in the UNC system that we've not had the significant enrollment declines that other institutions have had. You all probably seen, if you keep up with the news, there have been a multitude of institutions, public and private, that have had to just shut their doors. It does not take a huge drop in enrollment to create an existential financial crisis for colleges and universities, due to the fact that the vast majority of the costs of their expenses, right, are fixed in personnel. So if you have 95% of your revenues are locked up and 95% of your expenses, then you have a small drop in enrollment. You can have an existential impact. So our institutions have been experiencing pretty significantly evenly distributed across the state. UNC Charlotte has been by far the biggest growth institution as it's moved from a largely commuter-based school to now being a highly residential institution, over 30,000 students. NC State, UNC Chapel Hill had consistent but smaller growth because they have sought to find kind of their sweet spot. And so what we want to see is that, again, that if we have North Carolina residents who graduate ready for college and they want to come into the UNC system, that we find a space for them. That's where you see initiatives like NC Promise, which brought tuition down again to $500 at Elizabeth City, Pembroke, Vale, State, and Western. It was in those institutions because those institutions have some capacity. And it made more sense to enroll students in an institution where you have some capacity than to try to build all new physical. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
And, with, helping operate seven, so that we would mention, and thank you very much, and please tell, President Monty told me you were engaging speaker one. Thank you again. Fact that the UNC system was graduating students when George Washington was president. Jim Graham, do you remember those days? And I only saw Cindy Poole Roberts. I can work this. So Rotarians, if you all stand, please. The things we say and do is the truth.
Fair talk, sir. Will
Will and better relationship. Be beneficial to all concerned.
Yeah.